If your wildlife photos look amateur, it probably has less to do with your camera and more to do with the choices you're making in the field. They look amateur because the subject is too small. The light is ugly. The background is distracting. The shooting angle is wrong. The edit is heavy-handed. And you never made a clear decision about what the photo was supposed to say. And that might sound a bit harsh, but it's actually good news. Because if these mistakes are decisions, then they can be fixed. It doesn't mean you have to feel discouraged or uninspired because you can't afford more expensive equipment. It just means you need to change a few things about your approach when you're out in the field. And all it really takes to do this is a little effort and some of your time. I certainly don't want to diminish the value of effort though, because it takes focused effort to see real improvement. But if you're willing to put in a little work, you can see some huge dividends.
But you're stronger than you know. You'll never be alone when everything feels dark around. Just look inside where light is found.
Welcome to the channel. I'm Jeff, and I'm a professional wildlife photographer living in Charleston, South Carolina. This is a place for photographers who want to learn to create better wildlife photos. Photos that are more compelling, more meaningful, and more emotional. Today, we're going to talk about 15 mistakes that are killing your photos. Now, you might be thinking 15 sounds like a lot. You might already be trying to imagine how in the world you're going to fix all 15 right now. But here's the good news. You don't have to fix all 15 right now. Every photographer deals with these things at some point. This is just part of being a photographer. No one is born knowing these things. My advice would probably be the most obvious. Prioritize the mistakes that you are having or that you think are having the biggest impact on your photography. Perhaps several of these won't even apply to you. But nonetheless, make a list of which ones you want to deal with first and then work through them. Some are instant changes you can probably make. Others will take a little bit more time. But I'll tell you what, let's jump in and take a look. This is one of the biggest amateur-looking mistakes in wildlife photography. A bird or animal sitting tiny in the middle of the frame often feels like a snapshot instead of a finished photograph. The issue is not always that the photographer needed a bigger, longer lens. Sometimes the issue is just that the photographer photographed the scene too soon. They did not wait for the subject to come closer. They did not use fieldcraft. They did not think about cropping. They accepted the first record shot instead of working the scene. A distant subject can work if the environment tells a compelling story. But if the animal is small, the background is boring, and nothing else is really happening in the photo, it usually feels really weak. There's a difference between an environmental photo and a photo that is just too far away. An environmental photo is intentional. A tiny bird in a messy frame is not. This is a big one, but a very easy one to instantly fix. Many amateur wildlife photos look amateur because they are shot from the photographer's normal standing eye level. That creates a downward shooting angle, especially with things like birds, ducks, shorebirds, squirrels, rabbits, and many other small mammals. The result is often a photo that has a documentary-looking image instead of an intimate image. If you really want to create an immediate visual interest in your photos, you need to capture your images in a way that we don't typically experience them. Shooting angle is what really allows us to accomplish this. If you want your wildlife photos to feel more powerful, stop photographing everything like a person standing on a sidewalk. Get lower. Get closer to the subject's world. Getting lower helps with the subject connection, background separation, foreground blur, eye level perspective, a more intimate emotional feel. This is one of the fastest ways to improve your wildlife photos. This may be one of the most important mistakes. A lot of photographers focus only on the animal and completely ignore the background. Then they get home and they wonder why the image doesn't work. Now, the bird may be perfectly sharp, the pose may be fantastic, and the exposure may be spot on, but the background kills the image. Some of the most common background problems that we see are branches cutting through the head, bright sticks or leaves behind the subject, busy grass, hot spots, man-made objects, distracting color patches, high contrast clutter. Beginners photograph the animal, but more advanced photographers photograph the scene, the lights, the animal, the background, and the relationship between all of them. We focus and worry so much on getting a good shot of our subject that we forget to consider the other details, such as those messy backgrounds. But next time you go out, focus only on the backgrounds for every shot you take. Forget about everything else for this particular session and just worry about your choice of background. If we truly want to improve our skills, we can do so very effectively when we focus on perfecting one thing instead of trying to make everything perfect. Harsh light makes a lot of wildlife photos look rough, flat, contrasty, and unpolished. This is especially true with birds because feathers can easily lose detail in strong light. Problems caused by harsh midday light often include blown out highlights, deep shadows, ugly contrast, washed out color, shiny feathers, hard-edged shadows, and a less emotional atmosphere. Sure, the ideal time to photograph wildlife is early morning and early evening hours when the sun angles are lower. And these lighting situations produce nice, flattering light. But not everyone's schedule allows them to get out in those ideal conditions. So now you can shoot in harsh light. But what's important to understand is what that light is doing to your image. If you ignore it, it's very easy for the photo to look amateur. If at all possible, you're going to want to shoot early or late. You're going to want to use soft overcast lighting. Position yourself with the light angle in mind. Look for shaded subjects. Avoid white birds and harsh sun unless you know how to really control your exposure. A lot of wildlife photos look amateur because the exposure is not controlled with intention. Common mistakes include blowing out highlights on white birds, underexposed subjects against bright backgrounds, trying to fix bad exposure in editing, letting the camera meter make every decision for you, not watching your histogram, not understanding how subject tone affects metering. Exposure is not just about brightness. Exposure affects detail, color, noise levels, dynamic range, and how polished the final image feels. I've done a lot of videos in the past as to why ISO is not to blame for the noise in your images and why poor exposure is. I will try to link to one of these videos at the end of this one. In wildlife photography, the eye matters. A photo can survive a slightly soft tail, wing, or body. But if the eye is soft, the image usually falls apart. This is especially true with birds and mammals because the viewer instinctively connects with the eye first. If the eye is not sharp, the emotional connection is broken. To fix this, we need to understand the reasons why this is happening. Wrong autofocus area being used. Camera grabbed the body instead of the eye. It happens. Shutter speed too slow. Subject movement. Photographer movement. Depth of field is too shallow. Focusing through branches or grass. This is more advanced but very important. Sometimes the issue is not that the animal is small or soft. The issue is that the image has no clear visual hierarchy. The viewer does not know where to look. This happens when the subject blends into the background. There are too many competing elements. The animal is not separated by light, color, contrast, or focus. The composition does not guide the eye. The frame includes too much unnecessary space. If the viewer has to search for the subject, the photo is already losing impact. Centering is not always wrong, but centering every subject without intention can make your photos feel static. Many amateurs put the animal dead center because that is where the autofocus point was, or because they never recomposed their image or cropped it with a purpose. The center of the frame is not always bad, but if everything you shoot is centered by default, your composition is being controlled by habit, not intention. Some better options would be to consider leaving space in the direction that the animal is looking or moving. Use negative space more intentionally. Place the subject where the background supports it. Balance the subject with habitat. Crop for mood, not just proximity. Composition rules are guides for creating more impactful images, but these rules are not laws. The key takeaway with this mistake is that composition decisions matter a lot. Bad cropping can instantly make a wildlife photo feel amateur. More importantly, it can make the photo feel awkward and unbalanced. Some examples of this would include cutting off your subject's feet kind of awkwardly, clipping tails or wings by accident, leaving too much dead space, cropping too tight around the animal, cutting through joints, not giving the subject room to breathe, and using a crop that does not match the story. A crop should feel intentional. If it feels accidental, the viewer notices. This is a common and important one. Many wildlife photos look amateur, not because of how they captured the image, but because of how they edited the images. Common over-editing mistakes include too much clarity, too much structure, oversaturated colors, fake-looking grasses, those green areas, crunchy feathers or fur, halos around the subject, overdone sharpening, excessive noise reduction, unnatural background blur, too much vignette, AI edits that look obvious. Good editing should make the photo feel finished. Bad editing makes the viewer notice the editing before they notice the wildlife. The best wildlife edits usually enhance what's already there rather than trying to rescue a weak image. Not every sharp photo is a good photo. This is a big point that many beginner and intermediate photographers really need to hear, because a technically correct, sharp image can still look amateur if the pose is awkward. Some examples of this include a bird facing away, the animal walking out of the frame, awkward eye positions, awkward body positions, a head turned at a bad angle, wings in an odd position, subject is partially blocked, there's no gesture or behavior or expression. Sharpness makes a photo technically acceptable. It does not automatically make it interesting. This is where patience becomes so valuable in wildlife photography. We need to wait for eye contact, a good head turn, a clean profile, behaviors, wing stretch, feeding, interaction, expression, and overall better body angles. Beginners only often look at the subject themselves. Experienced photographers, as I mentioned earlier, scan the entire frame. Now, we touched earlier on this when we were talking about messy backgrounds, but the edges of the frame matter too, because distractions on the edge also pull the viewer's eye away from the subject. Common edge problems that we see are half-visible birds, bright sticks, cut off objects, white patches, random branches, unnecessary clutter, distracting water highlights. Before you press the shutter, don't just ask, is the animal sharp? Ask, is there anything in this frame that weakens the photo? Wildlife photos often look amateur when the subject blends into everything around it. This can happen even when the image is sharp. The subject needs separation through at least one of these methods: light, color, contrast, depth of field, background distance, clean framing, rim light, motion, and composition. The subject does not just need to be visible, it needs to stand apart. This is especially helpful for birds in reeds, deer in woods, or animals in busy habitats. A lot of amateur wildlife photos come from a see it, shoot it, leave approach. The photographer gets the record shot and just moves on. But stronger wildlife photographers work the scene. They ask questions like, can I get lower? Can I move left or right? Can I improve the background? Is the light better from another angle? Will the animal move into a cleaner space? Is there behavior about to happen? Can I wait for a better pose? They also shoot using varying focal lengths to capture wide, medium, and tight photos of the scene. The first photo is often just proof that the subject was there. But the better photo usually comes after you slow down and start making better decisions. A photo can be sharp, well exposed, and clean, but still be forgettable. But why? Because it does not make the viewer feel anything. Wildlife photos become stronger when they show behavior, connection, mood, environment, weather, light, struggle, beauty, tension, tenderness, power, stillness, and motion. A technically correct wildlife photo shows what the animal looked like. It often looks like the type of photo you might see in a field guide. But a compelling wildlife photo makes the viewer feel what the moment was like. The difference between an amateur wildlife photo and a strong wildlife photo is usually not the camera. It's the decisions you make in the field, where you stood, how low you got, what background you chose, what light you accepted, what moment you waited for, how carefully you exposed, how you edited the photo, whether the photo actually says something. In the very beginning of this video, I mentioned that many of these mistakes are quickly and easily fixable. Mistakes like the subject being too small in the frame, or shooting from a standing height, or choosing messy backgrounds. These are the types of things that can immediately change the next time you're out in the field. Now, some other mistakes take a little bit more time and practice and focus, perfecting your exposure, using lighting to your advantage, not having a clear subject in your frame. It's not that these mistakes are overly difficult to fix, but you've likely ingrained some bad habits into your shooting, and breaking those habits can be the challenge. Thinking differently in the field can be a challenge. Figure out which mistakes are causing you the most problems and attack them in a logical order. Focus on one at a time. The payoff for this will be well worth it. If you're looking for a powerful photo editor, I highly recommend checking out DxO Photolab 9. This is the software that I personally use and trust for all of my editing, especially because of its industry-leading noise reduction and their AI masking tools that just make editing faster, more precise, and more consistent. Now, if you would like to try it for yourself, use the link in the description. And if you decide you want to purchase it, don't forget to use my code Magnolia at the time of checkout. This will save you 15% off on your purchase. Also, download their 30-day free trial if you want to try out everything firsthand with no restrictions. And if you really want to learn how to get the most out of Photolab, then you need to check out my DxO Photolab Mastery class at magnoliaphotography.sc.com/store. Again, link in the show notes. But in that course, I walk you through everything from how to properly apply noise reduction and sharpening to how to use those really cool AI tools. In this course, it also has some freebies too, including my full preset collection for wildlife portraits, nature, and landscapes. Hey, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to spend it with me. I do deeply appreciate it. But before you head out, you might want to think about checking out this next video right here.